Directing has been proven over the years to be an art form not many can task. From the Spielbergs, Leones, Tarantino's, Coppola's, the list goes on and on and on. But what about the directors that can take a grasp on terrifying their audience? The ones that have changed the landscape of cinema by psychologically crippling us, scaring us, and creating some of the most terrifying characters in film history. Today, we have a case of the Sunday Scaries as we do a discussion of sorts on the directors of the horror genre. So sit back, don't relax, because this shit is going to be downright frightening. This is a Comic Talkers production, and of course, you are listening to Just for Flicks. What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Patty B. With me is my co-host, my fuck, I was gonna come up with something clever, but I just couldn't.
Your partner in crime?
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
Mr. B Dog, Mr. Brandon. What's going on, man? How you doing this morning?
At this point, I'm the Matthew Lillard in this case. Scream.
I'll be your Ski Ulrich. I'll be your bear.
Dudes are going to kill me. No.
Yeah.
I am actually excited for this. Fans, they know I'm not the biggest horror fan, but when it comes to directors, there are a lot of good directors in this world. And some of those directors without horror films, they wouldn't be able to direct some of the stuff that they go on to direct. And I feel like with that, they can grasp us with a movie with horror, suspense. They can do pretty much anything they put their mind to. Because even, like you say, Steven Spielberg started off with a very horrific, horror story.
Yeah. And I think too, it's a different message to get across in your movies compared to like a Scorsese or a Francis Ford Coppola or someone to that big a stature. And I think it takes a certain person to really have that envision on what they're trying to get across, and I think that's what we're here to talk about today. So
Like, I think the first one we should really discuss here in this case, I think, you gotta go with the guy who kind of is the master of suspense. You know,
nice.
you have to go to Alfred Hitchcock.
Yep.
It is, for fans nowadays who watch his movies, I watch his movies nowadays, it's not really terrifying. But during that time, it was horrifying. I'm sorry, you cannot watch Psycho and not be scared going in the shower. Seriously, you can't be
Yeah.
scared walking upstairs and somebody popping out and knifing you right there and making you fall down the staircase.
Well, I also think too, I mean, he was kind of a master at the suspense part, right? Too, is that buildup of suspense and then scare you a little bit. And I think also you got to think of the time frame back then too. Horror movies
We're not
weren't.
really well, like you had the monster movies, which you had Dracula, you had Frankenstein, Werewolf, Creature of the Black Lagoon, but you
Yeah,
didn't really have horror stories.
this is kind of a different approach to it, right? Yeah.
And like I'll even put it out there. I was afraid of birds when I finally watched the birds. I was afraid to walk out of the house and see a bird because I'm like, don't crap on me. Don't you even come down and peck me. Or I'm gonna, no. I'm gonna have you for dinner. No, I'm just
Uh-huh. I'm gonna have some crows for dinner. Do.
I don't want to go out there because if I do that, the birds are gonna attack me and kill me.
B Dog died from multiple birds attacking him. There's nothing left of his body, so it's a closed casket, just bones. So, oh man, no, but you're right though. Like, I think he was before his time, man. Like, I think he started making movies in the late 20s, if I'm
Yeah,
not mistaken. Late
I was,
20s, 30s for sure.
yeah. It was more 30s when he really started taking off. And
Yeah,
40s and 50s, like Psycho, like you had big hits with him. You already had North by Northwest. You had Vertigo. That's why I said I love Hitchcock.
yeah,
Hitchcock is my introduction to horror, and to see him come out into that, suspense at one time was horror. You
uh-huh.
know, it's different. Like I say, Psycho is by far my favorite horror film. And that's just
Psycho's
because,
good. You know what's crazy is like with Psycho and The Birds. I mean, those movies were made. Those were on his later years of film. So those were both, I think, in the '60s.
yep,
Um,
I think
he
60 was Psycho, and I think 62 or
I think
63.
he passed away in 1980.
Mhm,
So I mean, I think this is probably within the last 20 years of his life he made these films.
mhm.
I know Psycho was 1960, right? You said 1960. I think The Birds was 63, if I'm
Yeah,
not
as I say, it
mistaken.
was a 2 to 3 years after he made Psycho.
Um, but before we move on from him, I just got to say, Rear Window is my absolute favorite film of his. I'm not a big Psycho fan. It's good, but I don't gravitate towards it. I see why you like it though. Just for me, I think Vertigo and Rear Window, I love. I remember watching Rear Window for the first time. My grandmother, who she's like, "You never seen a Hitchcock movie?" And we watched it, and man, I was glued to the TV for the whole hour and 50 minutes or whatever, however long the movie is. And it's a fantastic film. So,
The
and especially where it doesn't really jump a whole lot, it just stays in one place the whole time, and I love films like that.
fun fact about that too, my grandma watched it the same way it was shot. You know, you have the rear window, and the guy's looking through the window the whole time, looking through the.
Uh,
That's how my grandma watched the movie. It was through a neighbor's window.
it's funny.
She always tells me that, and I'm just like, why?
Did she have a broken leg when this happened?
No.
That would have made it pretty in tune with everything,
The
right?
maneuvers, and when they looked, she
Did you
was.
ever see the did you ever see the I haven't seen it, but I'm gonna ask you, have you ever seen the Rear Window remake they made with Christopher Reeves after his accident?
Mm-mm.
It's kind of weird. Like I've only seen a trailer of it, and I'm like, man, what? That's kind of too soon. Why would you? I mean, I guess he had to start making money and whatnot, but like, damn, dude, like that's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's like, yeah, no, I don't even now don't want to have any intention to watch that film.
I don't have any intention at all watching it, but
But
yeah,
let's go to our next directors. I feel like too, because you have Wes Craven, but I feel like there's one before him, and that's John Carpenter.
yeah,
John Carpenter introduced us more to the slasher genre. This was, well, you had Black Christmas, you had a couple, but this is the one that kind of put it on the mark with Halloween. Michael
yep,
Myers is a staple in horror. You know, you have, I remember watching this with my mom. And it's a tradition every year. We watch it every year for Halloween. So it's not as scary. But Halloween is just a fantastic story. Now, that's not the only thing he's done though with horror. The Thing.
yeah. That's not the only thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah. But he is so good and clever in that movie that you don't know who is really who.
Yeah,
He leaves you in that suspense because that's the whole thing. And that's what I guess the same thing with Hitchcock is we might not think it's scary at points, but to them, you know it's a scary situation.
yeah.
You don't know what's gonna happen. And with Kurt Russell's, this is one of the only Kurt Russell films I could probably sit there and watch and enjoy.
Really.
I like Kurt Russell, but like certain roles for him fit him better.
You're referring to the thing with him in it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Under
what's crazy too is like how much work Kurt Russell did with John Carpenter. He did Escape from New York,
yep,
and I believe he did Big Trouble in Little China
yep.
as well. So that's crazy. I mean, you talk about, there's a lot of that's what's cool about directors. They tend to have a certain go-to actor or actress that they usually, it's like Alfred Hitchcock with James Stewart.
Yeah, or what I was thinking, Steven Spielberg with Tom Hanks, or
Yeah,
what's the other one I was just thinking about? Christopher Nolan and Cillian Murphy.
Tarantino and Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, that's what I said. Every good director has a good person to rely on, and Tim Burton and even Michael Keaton you can put up there, Johnny Depp, or even his ex-wife. All three of them have had multiple roles with him.
Yeah. Well, you said, wait, for Tim Burton, you said Johnny Depp,
Johnny Depp,
Helena Bonham Carter, and who else?
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. There's a Jeffrey Jones, I believe, has done three or four films with them too.
Yeah.
But yeah, Catherine O'Hara. We can throw Catherine O'Hara in that ring. I mean, there's
Yeah, well,
definitely.
now you can for sure because of Beetlejuice too. But that's what I said. It's going back to Carpenter. Carpenter's really good at making you even fear.
Mhm.
Like it's one of those like when you I remember the iconic scene where you see Michael in the first movie literally standing in the back and you just see Jamie Lee Curtis. Now, mind you, that was her first big movie, was Jamie Lee Curtis. And I love how we transitioned from that because that also went from mother to daughter. With
Yeah,
from Psycho, the main actress is Jamie Lee Curtis's mom.
yeah.
And like I said, fun fact, I think I told you a while back, H2O actually has a reference to it. The H2O Halloween film. Because
Hmm.
Janet, or I think it's Janet Lee, she is in the movie, and the car she drives is the same car she drove in Psycho. So, but going back to John Carpenter's really good at making you fear. And he's really good at making you really not know what's going on. You know, like Psycho or I not Psycho, Halloween. I love the scene where she picks up the phone too. And all these and then then there's another phone call. It's like, oh, it's me. And it's like, damn it, you know, but it
Yeah.
makes you fear. It makes you like, oh, like this is going down. And that whole scene, like I remember him bursting through the closet door. Like in the newer ones too, how he gets into the bathroom stall. I was like, oh my God. Like that is creepy beyond repair. I know in the last one they did, he gets out of the fire that they set
Uh-huh.
and he kills everybody and he just gets stronger and stronger. It's like, oh no.
Oh shit.
I was like, that movie's terrible,
Yeah.
but that is a scene that sticks in my head. Like when the fireman's trying to get down there to try to help him, and then all of a sudden he just stabs him. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
um, but he makes you really like in the thing, it makes you question like who can you really trust? You know, it makes you have that fear of is this person really who he is? Like that whole last scene of the movie, you don't know,
Hmm.
you know. It's that whole thing of it makes you really wonder, like, you know, they pretty much killed off their whole crew because they feared that. It's one of those things that make you think. And he's a good makes you good thinker. What's your take on John Carpenter?
John Carpenter, I mean, you can't, like you said, you can't really say anything without him, you can't talk about him without, referring to the Halloween movie. And I mean, especially that first one, man, I think that set a real precedent for what he or who he was as a director. And, I guess kind of gave us a better understanding of what we could expect from the horror genre in the future. So, no, I like John Carpenter.
How much do you think the budget was for Halloween?
Under 5 million.
Yeah, try like six digits.
Oh shit. Like 800,000?
Less,
Really? Half a million?
less, $325,000.
Damn.
They grossed in the US and Canada alone $47,160.
That's a lot of money for 1978, isn't it?
Yeah. And mind you, so it's a reason why that movie got a second one. Like in my head canon, I go first and second, okay, I put that as the canon, and then the new three.
Mhm.
Because all the other ones was just fillers. And I got to the point after the fourth one, I was like, what the fuck is this? And literally just stopped caring. So
Just
sure.
like, I'm done. Let's just move
Yeah,
on.
like, oh yeah, we're gonna resurrect him. I'm like, no, why? Don't do that. Paul Rudd's in these films too, a young Paul Rudd, and it makes me laugh every time I see him.
It's crazy to think like how much shit Paul Rudd's been in.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, I forget sometimes that he's Ant-Man. I know that's weird. I know for you, you
he's in
don't think
Romeo and Juliet. The
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 late 90s one,
yeah, one Leo and
Leo and Kate
Lane.
Winslet.
Yeah, no, not Kate Winslet. Lane.
Oh, it's not Kate Winslet. I'm thinking of Revolutionary Road.
No, I'm shocked you didn't say Titanic because that came
Well,
out.
no, everyone knows Titanic. I was thinking of a second movie they've been in together, and I thought Revolutionary Road for a second. So
Yeah, I can't. I think it's Lane. I know that's her last name, but she was in Homeland. She was in a couple shows like that. She won Emmys for that show as well. But Paul Sorvino's in that movie too. I forget he's in that movie as well. He plays the dad of Juliet. But anyway, going back to horror, let's talk about the next big one.
yeah,
Craven introduced us to quite some interesting characters that sit on the Mount Rushmore of
horror characters. Two big ones for sure.
Freddy and Jason. What
Did he
who
create
do you
Freddy?
prefer more?
I know Jason. Jason, did he create Jason? I don't think he did.
I thought he was Jason too.
Oh, I thought you were gonna refer to Ghostface.
Well, Ghostface, but Ghostface hard because Ghostface is multiple people. It's not just one person.
Yeah, but it's a single entity. Like it's one. People see that. I don't think he didn't do Jason.
He didn't do Jason?
No, because I was trying to think of it before we started recording of who it was.
I take that
No, it's
back.
not
It's
him.
Sean S. Cunningham,
Yep, that's the one. That's the one.
which I'm okay because I didn't like Jason. If I had to watch any of them, it's Freddy, and it's just because Freddy keeps you in suspense because you don't know what's about to happen.
Yeah, well, it's also a different approach to a slasher film, right? Like this guy can get you in your sleep. That's really how he gets you, right? I mean, he
Dreams.
he got killed in real life from the parents of the kids he's killed, all burned him, and
Yeah.
now that's why he looks like that. It looks like melted cheese pizza.
Prime time, bitch. Yeah.
How sweet, fresh meat. Yeah.
I
Bitch. That shit's
I I love. I'm not a big like Freddy guy. I'm not like I said. I'm not a big horror guy, but I love his moments and that because he makes you laugh at point.
Yeah.
Like I know they did the remake with oh god the dude from Semi Pro the druggie. The one that
Are you talking about the guy that shoots that gets
yeah
looking for
that's who
$10,000 all the time?
that's who plays plays Freddy in the remake
No way.
because that was the same year as Rorschach too. That guy plays Rorschach in Watchmen.
Bitchin'. Bitchin'. Yeah. Let's get tropical.
Yes, that guy was in this movie. He was he was Jackie Earl Haley. Was
Okay.
the
Speaking of semi-pro fans, go check out in the archives our Let's Get Tropical episode where we did a watch along on semi-pro. It was fantastic. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, back to it anyway, man. Wes Craven, like we were talking about, Robert Englund being iconic. This is what kind of like made Robert Englund. And I'm probably is it England? I'm probably
England, I believe.
but it's not spelled like the land.
England.
England, yeah. I was watching the very first Scream the other night, which is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And God, dude, what a barn burner of a film that is, dude. With just all the people that are in it. Like it just screams 90s, man, like late 90s.
Yeah, and at the time, none of these actors were really big name people. Drew maybe, but
Drew Barrymore,
Matthew Lillard was getting a start.
yeah, he was in a couple movies prior, but nothing to the stature of what this was. Rose McGowan.
Yeah. J.D. Arquette was in this one, and same thing. Cox. It's that's where they found each other and got married, but
Courtney Cox is probably the biggest actor. I would say.
Winkler's in this film. No, Henry Winkler I put up there. Henry Winkler's in the first one.
I'm talking. Yeah, that's right. He is. Gets murdered.
That's why I said he's good at mixing a little bit of comedy with a little bit, but it's not overly comedical. Like when you get more into the Nightmare on Elm Street stuff, it does get more comedical. It's just like, okay, I can't take
cheesy. It's super cheesy.
Yeah, But
in some
you know,
aspect.
but we got to remember, Wes Craven did launch a lot of careers. Johnny Depp got his first start in the movie with this.
Yup.
You know, I believe Patricia Arquette did too. I think this was one of her first big movies. Lawrence Fishburne was in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
I need to rewatch some of those because yeah, it's been way too. I know Johnny Depp's in the very first one, I believe.
Mhm.
All right.
Yep, he is. He's in the very first one, and he's only in the first one.
Yeah. Yes.
Spoiler alert.
He gets murdered.
Eh, um, no, but he does other movies too. He does the People Under the Stairs, The Last House on the Left, Red Eye, um, The Hills Have Eyes, the 1977 version. He does Freddy versus Jason. That's probably where I was getting it mixed up.
Wait, who does The Hills Have Eyes? Are you talking about the old one or the
The
new one?
1977 version.
Ah, man, I'd be willing to wager that the 2006 version is just
I
talk
didn't
about horror movies.
I didn't know he directed Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy.
Oh, I think I've seen a trailer of that or parts of that.
Yeah,
And Eddie Murphy looks very spooky looking.
yeah. That's what I said. Wes Craven's one of those guys that has created iconic moments. It's created a lot of jump scares, a lot of gruesome scenes,
Yeah.
and it's very interesting to see how he does it. Now, Pat, let's go to your next. What's another good director you'd put up here in this discussion?
Well, I think that we can't go without mentioning him. I'd be willing to say that M. Night Shyamalan is another. Ah, look at that face you're making. You just don't. I think.
I give him props for two movies.
What's that?
Split for horror.
Okay.
Split's amazing. Again, another one that can be considered suspense, but near that end of that movie, you're in a horror track.
What
You
about The Happening?
know that movie's god awful. I will never. That's kind of what started his downfall, and then the last Airbender was just a icing on the cake for him. That's why he took a break for so long too, because that was terrible. That movie, yeah, I remember watching The Happening, and I think that's where I got my dislike for Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg?
I did not like him in this film. It was so stupid.
Isn't Michael Pena in that too?
No, what's his face? Lozado.
Oh, John Leguizamo. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a tongue twister
he
of a
was.
last name.
Um, but no, Michael Pena's not in that movie. But no, I watched him when it first.
Sixth Sense is more suspenseful.
Yeah.
It's a good story. I really like that story and how that film, culminates to the ending, and it's a really big twist at the end. I think that's more what he's known for is having twists.
Right.
Um,
And sometimes they're good, and sometimes they're
like The Village. I like The Village personally. I know a lot of people don't, but that's got a lot of good actors in it, and
I
so
told you, like, I think I liked that movie until the twist. When they did the twist for it,
they did the pan out of like where they're actually living.
yeah, and it's not in old times; they are literally in modern.
Commune. Yeah.
I just
What did you think about? Did you ever see the film Old?
I've seen parts of it. I have
Yeah.
never sat there and just like I watched Knock at the Cabin. That was kind of weird too. That's a Dave Batista film. Yeah, and Dave Batista, Rupert Grint, which if you don't know, that's Ron Weasley.
Ron Weasley. Yeah.
Um, it it was kind of weird, but I do give him props. Every movie he directs, he's in. Every movie, he makes an appearance, just like Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock was in every film he made, but his were harder to find. M. Night Shyamalan, you pay attention, you will see it pretty quickly. Like he helps out in Glass, he helps out Bruce Willis's role. I won't put Glass and Unbreakable in that conversation because I don't find that horror. I find that more suspense. But Split has that horror sense to it. Trap is another one that's just coming out, which I heard mixed reviews so far, but I forget he does The Village. I've always forgot about that.
That's definitely one where a lot of people don't talk about it. I think a big reason because there's the twist at the end. I think it takes away from it. I mean, I don't think that people do think. I mean, yeah, I like that
And
film. It's good. Adrian Brody's fantastic. A young Jessica Chastain's in that movie.
I was
So
at Adrian Brody because that was off the heels of his Oscar win too with The Pianist. Because that was
yeah,
2004. What was it? What about Signs? Signs is it
yeah.
it's that horror sense. It's
I
more
don't really.
suspense. It's not really scary, but it gives you that sense of the unknown, and you don't know what's going on.
I love Mel Gibson, but this is not one of my
Joaquin Phoenix
favorite.
is in that film
I
too.
know he's the kid, which is
No,
weird.
he's not the kid. He's one of he's an adult in this film because this is after Gladiator.
I thought it was like his son.
Oh, I believe he could have been his son, but he was older.
Oh yeah, I didn't. Yeah, that's what I meant. He's like the guy's kid.
That was for Walk the Line.
Yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
that's what I said. M. Night Shyamalan is one of those guys that he can be good, but lay low with twists for a little bit because
Yeah.
you don't have a good track record with twists. Like, yeah, you have one of the biggest reveals, and it worked for The Sixth Sense when you find out that Bruce Willis's character is actually dead. You know, that's why the kids seeing him, yet nobody else can. Um, you have that Split actually didn't have a twist though. Split was just a straight up story.
Mhm.
You don't get the twist till Glass. In Glass, he reveals he is the reason his dad died and what made
Glass.
viral. But Glass was just terrible. It was so good until the end, and then I just gave up on it. I think I
Gave up.
watched it at theaters on that one. I was so pissed at the end. Uh,
Um, I was gonna say we might as well. I mean, kind of move on from and another one I want to mention. I mean, he's iconic as it is, man. He's got so many good films. We kind of briefly mentioned him earlier when we started this thing. Tim Burton,
yeah, Tim Burton's kind of that family horror. Like
family horror, but I mean, let's not take away Sleepy Hollow
oh
because
yeah, Sleepy Hollows. But see, I think for me, and that comes from the sense of me growing up with Sleepy Hollow and being that I don't find it horror-ish. I
yeah,
find them more like it's a gruesome take to the Disney Tale. Like,
mhm.
don't just sit on the Disney Tale that they put out there with Bing
The
Crosby.
Ichabod Crane and everything.
Yeah, but that it's a gruesome story. It
Yeah.
very much is. Christopher Walken's in this film,
Wow.
but he has no talking voice.
Where's my head at?
Christina
Wow.
Ricci's in this film,
Dude, you got Neil you got God, I always forget his name. The guy that plays Palpatine,
Ian McDermott.
Ian McDermott, you got Michael Gambon,
Casper Van Dien is in this film. The
Casper Van Dien, another Jeffrey Jones collaboration. And
Michelle
the guy
Pfeiffer's in this film too, isn't she?
who
Isn't Michelle Pfeiffer in this film?
thought it was just Christina Ricci.
No, because there's a mom.
Oh, is there?
Yeah,
Yeah, it could be Michelle Pfeiffer.
I'm looking it up right now.
But another one too is and it's one of my favorite musicals is Sweeney Todd.
Yeah,
I mean, I can
no, I
only
take that back. It's Miranda Richardson.
mm,
Richard Griffiths is in that film too.
that's Dursley, right?
Uncle Dursley.
Uncle Dursley.
Uncle Dursley.
I knew he was in it. I just couldn't think of his name. Of
And Christopher Lee's in this film.
course, Christopher Lee's in this film.
And that's also another actor that he worked with quite a bit. Tim Burton did.
Yeah,
Lee did. Ray Park is in this film. I didn't know that.
Ray Park, like Darth Maul Ray Park.
Small Ray Park. I didn't know that.
Darth Maul Ray Park.
That was during the years of X-Men and Darth Maul, and yeah,
Dude, he was killing it that year.
yeah, he was making a lot of money.
You know what's funny is I remember Sleepy Hollow coming out when I was a child, and I guess to think of how old I am now, but I remember that coming out.
Like
I remember
Halloween
it
was
being a
my
big deal when
first-
it came out.
Halloween was my first one. That was my second. But I got a good one for you, and I want to see what you think. Did you put Ridley Scott on that conversation?
He has um, a wide spectrum of films that he does, right?
Well, he brings in one of the most iconic ones, sci-fi
Yeah,
with Alien,
yeah. Alien. Yep.
horror
Yeah,
story.
I mean, it's just weird to think, it's like Ridley Scott doing a film like that, and then he does The Gladiator, right? It's just like I said, the spectrum of what he can do is you don't. I guess a lot of people.
Well, he's doing it this year too because he has Aliens, Romulus, and he's got Gladiator 2 coming out.
Yeah, which is crazy. Uh,
I can't believe they're doing Gladiator
I'm
2.
a little skeptical to see how that goes. I don't know if I want to go see it.
I
I,
told friends I was like, I'm not gonna go see it in
I'm
theater.
not going to pay money to go see it, but once it's like on a streaming service, that
I'll watch it. I'll tempt it and see if I like it or not. But it's one of those things. Like I feel Ridley Scott should get because he did introduce the like you have sci-fi horror films like in
Mhm.
the 60s, but he took it to a whole new level. Another big one I'm shocked you have not brought up is Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah,
Stanley Kubrick
yes,
has two underneath him. One I would refuse to talk about because I hate the movie. But the most iconic is The Shining.
The Shining. Oh, were you gonna say Clockwork Orange? I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
talk about that one though, because I hated that film.
Yeah, it didn't do much for me. I'm more on your side with The Shining because I think The Shining has got some fantastic, and I mean
Visual.
fantastic shots. Just like cinema, just the way that movie is filmed. There's certain scenes like I feel like I always bring this up when we talk about The Shining, but I love that scene with Jack Nicholson's character with the waiter or the guy in the bathroom and how they never really show his face much until like 5 minutes into the scene. Like it's just God, the suspense. That scene alone makes that movie top tier for me. It's
I,
just
my,
everything. The psychological aspect to that film is crazy.
my favorite shot is well, one having the kid drive his bike through the hall,
Hmm.
and then you see the two twins, and then the elevator. So with the
Yeah.
blood. I thought that was really well done. And then the ice scene too, when the kid and her are running from him.
Hmm.
I thought that was well shot. Because it gave you kind of the sometimes the point of view of what Jack's seen. And it's like, wow, that took it. Kubrick's really good, but it gets annoying at points. And I don't mean it in a bad way. I'm not a big fan of Kubrick films. And I feel like he tries too hard at points.
Hmm.
Like I've told you one of my favorites is not even really a horror story or anything. It's a comedy of his, and that's Doctor Strangelove. I don't know why, but the humor in that movie makes me laugh.
Well, he's got horror. He's got a little bit of realism when it comes to Full Metal Jacket.
It's
You know,
a-
that's a more of a realism movie in my opinion. I know it's technically a war film, but it really I think gives you the reality of what war can be and all that stuff. But then you go to like even Eyes Wide Shut. It's more of a culty film, kind of dark, twisted. Um, but it's not like The Shining or Clockwork Orange. Now,
well,
like you were saying,
2001
Clockwork.
Space Odyssey too is a one that you can't discuss with you can't bring up without discuss when you're discussing
What's
Kubrick
that?
21 or 2001 A Space Odyssey.
You know what's funny is so I saw that movie for the first time like a year ago, and I actually recently watched it about probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. And man, I really actually like that movie. It's kind of weird,
Yeah,
not a
the
lot of
first like
dialogue in it,
yeah,
but
the first
God,
15-30 minutes it's really like what the fuck is this?
yeah, dude. But man, it's
Once
got
you
some
get past that,
awesome shots in that film too.
I can't do that, Dave. I can't do that.
It
That's where I feel like that.
kind of sounded like I'm not happy, Bob.
Yeah, I'm not happy, Bob. I just don't like.
I
I
can't.
feel like that movie can always be talked about another sci-fi horror story because it's AI, and the fact that you can't always trust AI. You know, there is reasons why The Simpsons do make fun of it in their Treehouse of Horror. There are people who view that as a horror story at points.
Hmm.
I don't blame them. Is it scary? No, but not every horror film has to be scary. Horror films can be psychological. That's the whole point. There is one more recent one I want to talk about, and you wouldn't think this guy does these stories. He does really well. Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele is becoming slowly and surely one of my favorite horror directors. And
Hmm.
because he doesn't rely on gore, he doesn't rely on anything like that. He relies on psychological. And he does a really good job. Get Out is a perfect example of that.
Yep.
Yeah, you
Oh,
have
man.
different scenes in it, but not to the point where it's overriding the story.
You know how when you watch movies sometimes too, there's like that feeling that you can never get back, and it's the feeling of the first time you watch a film and the way it made you feel when it got to like a certain part in that movie. That's how I feel about Get Out. Like I can never revisit how I felt when I first watched that film because man, does it take you on a ride. Um, it's kind of funny. There's some it's you know what I like about a good like horror or a good uh suspenseful movie is when they can always intertwine a little bit of comedy,
Yeah.
kind of make you feel good, but also scare you. So
But and he does really good with bringing actors that are really not known for horror stories. Daniel Kaluuya is a perfect example of that. Daniel Kaluuya was not really known for horror. You had Daniel Kaluuya, you had Little Rail Howery, which everybody knows from Uncle Drew. Even Bradley Whitford from he was he in Cabin in the Woods? I can't remember. But again, people don't forget about him because he's in Billy Madison. He
isn't
is
s- oh yeah.
a guy, the main villain, and Billy Madison is plays in Get Out.
And he's also in The Handmaid's Tale.
Yes,
Um
I forget.
Stephen I believe Stephen Root is also in Get Out.
Let me take a look here. Stephen Root, you said?
Yes, Stephen Root from Dodgeball
Yep.
and
The Munson.
Buster Scruggs. He's a really big Coen Brothers collaborator.
Yep.
Um,
Um,
I love Stephen Root, man. He's fantastic.
but let's also talk about Us. I liked it. I was creeped out more in Us than I was in Get Out.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
Us is more
it's psychological. It
I was
will.
gonna say it's more psychological, a little bit darker.
Well, it has one of my favorite scenes with like, oh, we can do it the easy way or the hard way. And then when you see them scramble, it's like, oh fuck. Like
Yeah.
I was like, nope. The Peter Luongo in that film is amazing. And again, not known for horror story movies.
Oh,
And she's now gonna be in another horror story, or she already is in Quiet Place. You
got
know,
it.
I think Jordan Peele's one of the, and he just did Nope, which I don't consider horror, but it's psychological thriller.
I never got a chance to see Nope yet.
Yeah, it's Kiki Palmer. I can't remember. I think Daniel Kaluuya is in that one too. I can't remember. Um, but Kiki Palmer's that's what kind of rejuvenated her career a little bit too. Um,
Kiki.
yeah, like I enjoy Jordan Peele because now he's like the head of like the Twilight Zone when they remade the Twilight Zone. He was the guy. You've entered the Twilight Zone. Bah, 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 bah. You know, I love this. I love this conversation. Like, is there any other directors? Okay, let me ask you this.
I was gonna say there's one more. Go ahead. What were you gonna ask?
I would say I have one more too, and one I'm shocked we haven't even brought up yet.
Yeah.
And he started his career with horror, and now has become iconic. Spielberg.
Yeah.
Spielberg did Jaws.
I
People,
was gonna say Jaws is I fucking love Jaws, dude. It's such a good movie.
yeah,
Only the first one though. I mean, the first one's too iconic. It's got too many good actors in it, and then it's like after that, it's like okay.
well, they try to understand that because they needed a bigger boat for the second movie, but I don't think Spielberg did the second movie, but I know that was a bad dad joke, but I don't care. Um,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
uh, knee slapper,
yeah. Ah, you got me.
but I Spielberg's iconic. Spielberg, mind you, if you had to do a top 5 film, would Jaws make it? Yeah, I put it up there, but Jaws would be like 4 or 5. it wouldn't be like the major one, but this was kind of the movie that put him on the mark. And he also had Close Encounters with the Third Kind, which again, it's not really horror, but it's a suspenseful story. You don't know what's going to happen. And I enjoy Jaws. Jaws is such an interesting story to see. Um, that's what I said. Now, okay, what other director did you have?
So I was just gonna bring up really briefly. He doesn't have a lot of films under his belt. I believe three he's got. Maybe a couple short films earlier, very early on in his career. But and it really is because of one film, and it sticks out to me. And this movie is one of the most beautifully shot horror films, in my opinion, of all time.
Please don't say Final Destination.
No,
No.
those are good. No. Um, I'm gonna go with I was gonna talk Ari Aster.
Yeah, I can see where.
He
Oh,
did Hereditary.
yeah.
Mine is Midsummer, man. I think Midsummer is one of the
Well
best,
shot.
is one of the most well shot, best just films within the last 20 years. Like for the kind of movie it is, God, man, it's fucking beautiful, man. Like I can't get over of just like how okay so within the first 5 minutes it's dark, right? She loses her parents, loses her whole family, but then it gets kind of beautiful. It gets kind of not beautiful, it is beautiful, but it gets kind of upbeat, the way that the way he's able to have like colors and all that intertwined with the film kind of makes it feel like you're on a mushroom trip. I mean, they do mushrooms and it kind of makes you feel like it's kind of euphoric a little bit, but man, dude, that movie just
That is
I
absolutely.
love that film. I watch that film probably 3 or 4 times a year, man. It's
That's
like
like
the go-to.
Florence Pugh. That's one of my favorite Florence Pugh stories or movies.
Yeah.
I think that's what kind of put her on the map for me, other than
Uh-huh.
Widow, because I like Yolanda and all that, but not the point. But Florence Pugh is such a great actress in that film.
Oh, dude.
But let's go back to the first one you brought up, Hereditary.
Yeah.
Hereditary really was a standout. Nobody was thinking this movie was going to do good. And it is creepy as hell. I have
Yeah.
film and I
Toni
went.
Collette's fantastic.
Toni Collette is I'm putting it out there. Toni Collette is a very underrated actress. She is. You don't hear her as much, but she's such a great actress in what she does. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe she was nominated for that movie for Hereditary for best actress.
I think she was, or best support, yeah, best actress, actress. Um,
I do feel that she's such a great actress in that film. That whole story puts you on a fucking trip and makes you really go, "Oh shit, what the fuck am I watching?" But that's why I said those two movies alone stand out to me. It's like another Jordan Peele situation. Not all stories have to be gruesome.
yep.
Story like Hereditary, I'm not a big fan of like spiritual movies or like possession movies,
Mhm.
but that one I was given an exception. I don't know why, but I was like, okay, I'm getting into it. Like the scene where the little girl sticks her head out. Oh, that gave me chills. I was like, no. Midsummer though, it's gruesome at points, but it makes you go, what the hell? Like I had to watch that twice to really like understand the story. There's parts that I was getting like, what the hell? Did I miss something? And then when I watched it the second time around, I was like, that makes more sense now. And it's a good movie. I haven't watched it in about a year or so I might have to go back and rewatch it again. But well, now let me ask you this, and we'll end this podcast out with this: is there a director that you want to direct a horror story?
Uh, I've thought about this before, and I'll give you a straight up answer, and you'll know. I think you'll know why I'm gonna pick this, but I also think it'd be kind of a more corny horror film. I would like to see Wes Anderson go on the
I
horror.
figured you were gonna go with that.
I'm just saying, like it would go,
You ever
man.
watch the SNL sketch that they make fun of him? It was like a horror story, and Wes Craven's going out of the box and making a horror story. And literally, like Owen Wilson is in the film for it's so stupid. It's essentially
Jason Schwartzman's in it, yeah.
yeah. And then all of a sudden
Or
they're
Bill
just
Murray.
who's out there just waving at him through the windows.
I think he could. I think he could pull it off. I don't think it would be too scary. You know what I think he could do? The way he's done his animation films with Fantastic Mr. Fox and Isle of Dogs. I think if
Oh,
he,
fuck.
I think if he took an shut up. The only reason why you don't like Fantastic Mr. Fox is because of George Clooney. It's a fantastic film, no pun intended. All right, so be quiet with that. Um, I love Isle of Dogs too, but Fantastic Mr. Fox is completely better. It's a way better movie in my opinion.
Worth it.
I'm sorry that Joel Schumacher ruined your approach or your
I just
thoughts.
don't like George Clooney, period. Schumacher didn't do that to me.
Nah, come on.
No. I
Um,
like him in Roseanne. People forget he was in
oh
Roseanne.
my God, he's barely in Roseanne.
I
Stop it.
hated him in that. And then I hate him in The Ides of March. I hate him in pretty much every movie I've watched him in.
Oh,
Other than
dude.
maybe one. Oh, bro,
Uh,
like that. That one didn't bug me. That one was fun.
I think if he took an approach to an animated horror film, kind of like that stop motion stuff, I think that would be awesome. Especially with the colors. Could you imagine a horror movie like that? Like I think it would work. I think it could easily work. Now, I think by him doing that, you kind of flirt along the lines with what Tim Burton's already done, right? I mean, with him doing Frankenweenie, even though it's kind of a scary movie. Nightmare Before Christmas, Corpse Bride.
Yeah.
So
There's two I have on mine that I've toyed with. I would always love to see George Lucas do it, but I think his directing days are over. And I don't know why he can make a Star Wars horror film for me any day, and I'd probably watch it. But that's not who I say. I pick Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan has already given us great suspense tales. I'd like to see him go to horror, at least for one movie.
yeah, but
With
that's
Insomnia, he did it with
I
Memento.
feel like 3 years have been wasted. Well, I guess you could say the same thing because like him and like both of those guys, Wes Anderson and Christopher Nolan, they only pop out a movie every 3 to 4 years. They're not very not I wouldn't say active because they take a lot of time on their projects.
Yeah,
But I mean I mean, yeah, when does a Nolan movie come out? Like every 3 to 4 years? It's like the Olympics.
but to me, Nolan would be great at it because we
Yeah,
already got Insomnia. Insomnia is a great suspense tale.
100%.
Um,
Same
what
thing with fuck, I forget the name. I'm gonna sound like a bozo saying that. Is it the one with the magic people, the magic show thing? You know what I'm talking about? It's got Christian Bale. It's The Prestige.
Yeah,
That's
or yeah, the one with Christopher or not Christopher. It's Christopher Nolan's film. Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, Scarlett Johansson.
there you go. I forget Hugh Jackman's.
Yeah, that was. I think that was the only film he ever did with Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, that'd be a cool. I mean, yeah. So
That was a good cast. That's what I said. Mine, all my other one. It's kind of a weird one, but I also think he could pull it. James Cameron.
James Cameron, would it be a deep sea adventure?
Well, we got the Abyss with him. I'm putting it out there. Abyss freaks me the out. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Ed
I know
Harris
why.
in the Abyss?
Huh?
Isn't Ed Harris in the Abyss?
Yes.
A young Ed Harris? I
Yeah.
love Ed
That's
Harris.
age. It he always plays an ass though. I watched the Truman Show the other day and I was sitting there, I was like, yeah, what an ass. Like
Yeah.
he's such an ass in that film. Every movie I've watched him and that I enjoy though is when he's an ass. And that's what I like about it. But the Abyss always freaks me out. I don't know why. It's hard for me to watch that movie. And I think it's too because I always don't like exploring the deep blue sea. And because I don't know what creatures are sitting there. I don't have a phobia to water because I like, I'll go to the beach, I'll go and stand in the water and do all that. But to go into the deep blue sea, oh hell, you're gonna pay me to do that. but um, but that's why I said I can see James Cameron pulling it off. You know, he has the visual effects to really do something creepy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see why he couldn't pull it. But I think it's a good way to end this podcast, don't you think, Patty B?
I think so. I think it's a scary way to end this podcast. Ha ha ha. Ooh.
But fans, let us know in the comments who you feel is the best horror director. Well, who would you put on a Mount Rushmore of horror directors? Let us know in the comments. Check us out just for flicks or J4F podcast on Instagram, TikTok. Check us out on Spotify. And without further ado, Patty B, take us out.
Yeah, thank you guys for following us along on this journey of horror. It's been fun. It's been real, and you've been listening to Just for Flicks. Bye bye now.